Hello and welcome to ZeldaSpeedRuns. Today we have another match of the A Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup. This is a match of round 3, it's game 2 between Trey, Spyre and zenarcane. Commentators for this will be R-Sharp and MyEndium. Say hello.
Hi. Hello, thank you for the intro. Hey MyEndium, how's it going?
Good afternoon, R-Sharp. It is going well here. I hope, even though you took that game one maybe a little harder than I think you should, that you are good to go here, because I think we're going to have a really exciting game two between these runners.
Yep, thankfully we are not here to talk about my race, so that's good news for me. We're here to talk about Trey, Spyre, and zenarcane, who, have a game two. Zen's up 1-0 over Trey after their match yesterday. And man, it was a thriller. I got a good chunk of it. It was funny. Trey had the hammer early, and Zen had the boots and the bow and the ice rod early, and they were just sort of trading the lead back and forth. It was really fun to watch yesterday. So I'm hoping for more of the same between these two in about 35 seconds when we start.
Yep, lead change is always fun, that sudden reversal of fortune. You don't get that in every rando seed. Sometimes a runner just jumps out to the lead, but, it sounds like game one was incredibly hype. Just 4 minutes separating the runners in that one. Here's hoping, fingers crossed, we get every bit as good a show here in game two.
Yep. So it's going to be a standard seed, as all of these Challenge Cup races are, so they will start in Link's house, their uncle will leave, they'll go to the escape sequence, and we'll get a random weapon. So, hey, here we go.
I believe that's a little hint of vanilla there.
Yeah, it is. I did not get the lamp in my race earlier today, so we're already off to a better start than mine. That's great. That's funny. Usually I just get like 20 rupees in that chest every single time. Every time. So the lamp there is pretty nice.
Yeah, 20 rupees or some sticks. It's never even anything as useful as bombs. Unless you get the 10 bomb pack off the uncle, in which case, of course, it's bombs in the house first.
Yeah, not today, though. We got a fire rod. How do you feel about starting with a fire rod, MyEndium?
Fire rod is a pretty decent start, especially when the guards are in the magic pool, so you can burn as much as you want. Of course, that means that unless we find bombs in a chest or on the rats, we're not going to be checking back of escape here in the early going.
Yeah, one of the drawbacks of the fire rod is it kills everything fast, but it uses a lot of magic, so usually you don't get to farm too much. But when we do get to the back and we have a couple rooms where there's rats and snakes, they might be able to pull some magic from those snakes. We'll see. We'll see. Wouldn't be surprised if we make it without bombs, though, given, like you said, there's magic on the guards.
Yeah, it can be much more finicky a weapon when you don't have some enemies in the magic pool. You kind of want to conserve your shots. One fire rod shot will do for the ball and chain guard, so you really feel like you should hold on to that. And then that rat can be a little bit squeaky and running around in the dark and hard to target sometimes. But in this particular case, I think everybody feels pretty free with what they've got.
Yeah, for sure. So into the back we go. Are going to be some more opportunities to find bombs in a chest, of course. Just $5 here, though.
And of course, that fire rod totally overrode the talk of the lamp that we were having. It will be nice. Everybody will get to see what these runners are doing in the dark today. It's not always the most interesting thing to watch a sword sparkle or a little dust kicking up off of the feet periodically. But, here we are. The lamp makes for nicer viewing, if nothing else.
Yep. I mean, what could ever go wrong in the dark? That's the last allusion I'm going to make to my race earlier today. I'm done now. Fully focused on this one. All right, blue potion here is super awesome, especially since we have the fire rod that uses a lot of magic. So if we find ourselves in a position, I don't know, maybe an early moth fight or something where you're using the fire rod a lot, blue potion's pretty nice. Of course, it's always nice to find it before you head to Kakariko as well, since it opens up that Sikid check.
And I wasn't even thinking as far down the line as the potential Mothula fight. What we could see here is something like the rats in the low value pool where the bomb is prize number 6. That can take a whole lot of magic to get to, but that blue potion is an extra full bar.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that would be a tough choice to make, whether or not to drink that or just hope you find the gloves later and come back. Alright, so up we go. Could have, yeah, runners could have opted to, I don't know, throw some pots at some guards here to try to refill magic a little bit before heading to the back and being confronted with all these rats, but they're just going fast. Makes sense.
Feel like you have no time to waste whether you won or lost your first game by 4 minutes. You always feel like, okay, I was only that far ahead, or that's all I needed to make up. Every second counts.
Yeah, and if you're behind after escape, it's basically GG. So totally get the mindset here.
Yep, nobody has ever gotten randoed in this game ever. We don't call it rando for any particular reason.
Yeah, that was a really nice fire rod shot over on Zen's side. Killed like 4 and unfortunately just got 1 magic drop.
And yeah, I got 50-50'd all over the place there.
Yeah. Alright, there's our requisite key.
Here's our rat check, and they are in the low value pool, starting off with the small magic drop.
Yeah, you called it. So it looks like Zen is gonna try to farm these rats up here. Yeah, nice little bit of game knowledge there on Zen's side, just picking up some of those small magic drops under pots. So Trey also sees that low value pool. Right, you can use the potion. Trey used it.
Ooh, Trey has 1 more to go. I think that was the second small magic. The bomb ought to be next.
Yeah, so he's gonna take the time to walk back and find a couple more rats, I guess. You know, this could absolutely pay off if there's something important back here. So, might look slow, but I think it's a totally legit gamble that Trey's taken.
About the only thing I think I would have done differently was tried to get that information a little earlier, like zenarcane did with the rats up there in that top right-hand corner of the first room they appear in.
Yep.
And it's just bombs. There are bombs and a piece of heart and a map. That has to not feel good on Trey Spyre's end.
Yeah, he used that blue potion, I think is probably the biggest thing. Zen is going to have to take the time to come back and open up the entrance to back of escape via the graveyard later, so I don't think it's much of a time loss per se. But yeah, losing that potion is kind of a bummer.
Certainly not an insurmountable one, even if it is.
God, I hope not. This would be a really boring another hour and a half we have here if it was an insurmountable lead at 7 minutes and 10 seconds.
I know, right? Well, you know, if it was in MG, maybe. You know, nothing horrible's ever happened to anybody on any boss in this game, ever.
Listen, I've seen Wayne die in MG races, so anything can happen even there, if you can believe it. But hey, stuff is happening. Zen is going to Kakariko up front. Makes a lot of sense. This is the conventional route, I would say, when you don't have a starting bow or anything like that. Finds Cane of Samaria on the bottle vendor. No bombs, though, so it's going to have to walk down here and see if he can find any. I missed what was on
that lumberjack check was too fast for me to catch.
Alright, chat bail us out. Brave says red boomerang.
Scottish Brave and Homewrecker doing the tracking for us today, going to go ahead and keep us honest there. Thank you very much.
So Trey obviously found bombs in back of his escape, so he's going to be able to save 50 rupees buying them in Kakariko, and is also going to be able to route through Kakariko a little more nicely. So being pretty thorough with the lumberjack check and time spent in Lost Woods, but it's going to pay off a little bit since he is entering with bombs here.
From some runners that I've talked to about it, I think it's about a 10-second difference to have to walk through Kakariko down to the bottom and buy bombs before doing everything else. So, again, it's not the end of the world here.
Speaking of insurmountable differences, that's...
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, those 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, that's what makes a race for sure. And that's why you see people studying execution just as much as they, talk about routing after a race. So, there's a mirror, blind set, and a moon pearl. Nice, and a sword. Okay, good start. I always like find a mirror early since, if you do end up getting early Dark World access, it might let you just sort of combo in your overworld checks a bit more effectively.
It's definitely one of those items that gives you a great deal of additional efficiency. Always like to have it in hand.
Totally. And finding it late really stinks, because mirror checks are super isolated when you find it late in a seed. So really nice to see that. Really nice to not have to worry about the moon pearl, obviously, as well. And I don't know, I guess swords are nice. I guess.
Well, that sword is the third of our fourth piece of the Aga access puzzle. One more sword or a cape would do that.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we found that lamp early, which is one of them. Need 2 swords, obviously. So yeah, we'll see.
Of course, without any way to really move around the Dark World yet, definitely doesn't want to rush.
Yeah. Yeah, wouldn't be the first time. There's progression and right in the front of pod. That's required Aga, but it's still a little early for us to worry about that. Still have all the South Shore ahead of us, and with just a glove or a flute, we have logical access to the mountain as well. So, we'll see. Yeah, that was Ether on Library, which who knows if we need that. We will see.
And Zen saw the red mail there on Race Game and has turned his nose right up at it.
Yeah, I like 1 mail upgrade, but 2 is usually pretty unnecessary when you're at this level. Zen just dug up some flippers, speaking of opening up more checks. So we're about halfway towards Zora money, but that opens up Hobo logically, as well as Waterfall Ferry.
Now, how do you feel after seeing those flippers? Do you kind of consider making an early play over to Saha's Closet to have a handful of additional chances to find a 300 somewhere before, wandering down onto the South Shore and being in range of that whirlpool to get to Zora?
Yeah, it's a tough call. This is like an awkward amount of money to have right now, because if you have very little money, you feel like you can just safely do South Shore without, worrying about isolating Zora in an annoying way. Because you're just like, whatever, I'm so far from Zora money, it doesn't matter. And if you have like 400 rupees, you get really nervous that you're going to come close to 500 but not quite get there. Anyway, this is all moot because Zen just pulled 300 out of the dam. So
yeah, because sometimes you just go to the dam and you find 300 sitting there in the chest and you don't care anymore.
Yeah. So yeah. Interestingly though, Zen is going to route over to Agina. I think the conventional play here would definitely be go right to Ice Rod Cave and hop in and do Zora with those flippers. But if there's something here, could be an advantage, since obviously Trey is going east.
It is an interesting little bit of early divergence. The play on Zen's side is a play that I like personally. I don't like to orphan things in Sphere 1 locations, and this is one of the harder ones to get to sometimes. So, you know, if you're at the dam, you can just go over here, you hit this real quick, you lose maybe 15 seconds with the save and quit back to the house to go down to Mini Moldorm Cave. But, you know, if something is in there like the hammer I've seen recently, a glove, you kind of want to have those things.
Yeah, it's true. There's the hammer, by the way, and Master Sword. So one more of those Aga pieces, but also one piece of the Dark World puzzle too. So I call this one a wash, I guess.
It actually enables some additional Dark World checks too. You could just hammer down through those pegs and go to Hype Cave and make the Southern Dark World loop, although, of course, without a couple of gloves, you're going to get stopped there.
Yep.
It at least gives you some additional value on the potential play to Aga.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes Pod a little more palatable, I suppose, and it, assuming that we find a bow at some point, and yes, you could just head south and go directly to Hype Cave, etc. So, always nice to find an early hammer.
Trey with a nice fake flipper set up there. Always pays to stay in practice with that one.
So often I do like splash delete or something when I find early flippers because I just forget about it. Yeah, that's that was that. So Trey with that insurmountable lead from not checking Agina is going to be the first to the Zora area here.
And zenarcane did show us our stun prize there, a singleton heart. That's
pretty nice, actually. It's nice to have just free life refill access. Yeah, we have Dark World access. How about that?
Yeah. Second best stun prize in the game, and yeah, that Dark World access as zenarcane pulls that cape out of Ice Rod Cave.
This is so funny. Like, if you do the wrong checks here, this would just be screaming Aga at you, and you could easily get baited into it.
Well, on Sin's side, it's still screaming Aga at him, but he's going to go get into that waterfall ferry and realize, nope, don't have to do it. Here in just a second.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a lot we can do around Village of Outcasts with that Fire Rod and Hammer. We can full clear both Skullwoods and Thieves Town, so I don't know. That's the really safe place to start, but this one-on-one races, sometimes you route unconventionally, with hopes of gaining an advantage, so we'll see where Trey is headed to. Like, he's going to start in the south and head on down to Hype Cave.
It's a nice early chunk of checks, you know, those 5 in Hype Cave, and you can make a handful more. You have the mirror, so it's not like you have to worry about orphaning K45.
Right, and he's still on 5 hearts, and he used that blue potion earlier, so taking the time to do this before heading right to Skullwoods is pretty smart. Saw Total Rock and Swamp as our pendants. Of course, we have flippers. We have the mirror, which means Swamp is, well, it's nearing something we have to worry about. There could even be something in there now with that hammer too.
The game would never do something like put a vanilla hookshot in Swamp Palace. That would never happen.
Nope. There is a Tempered Sword in Hype Cave. So that's really going to help out in that moth fight. So yeah, could have gone up there and just chased crystals, but I think this paid off.
Tempered Sword is that nice point to reach that's really kind of the amount of firepower that you start feeling comfortable. Most things die when you do the right things to them with the Tempered Sword. You know, you get into something like Turtle Rock, that Master Sword not really making the cut anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially Mothula, just 4 tempered slashes, right? So it's an especially good thing to pick up early here.
And it looks like Zen is also going to pick up this mushroom. I'll be curious to see if he turns it in. Trey has decided he wants to chase other checks at the moment, including finding that book in Cave 45.
Yeah, mushroom's a little awkward right now. I would expect with the mirror in hand, I would think both runners are going to put this off until they can route it in with catfish, maybe. Zen is going to head back to Back of Escape. Here's that. Yeah, here's Trey making back a bit of time that he spent farming those bombs, as Zen takes the time now to go find his garbage in the back here. Trey also skipping that red mail.
Says, I've had the look, but that's all I'm going to have.
You just don't need it.
It's unfortunate only insofar as the red mail Plague Knight sprite is really nice looking.
One day, I hope to see it. It will not be today, though, unfortunately. Would you have checked Bombo's tablet after pulling that book out of Cave 45?
I would have been sorely tempted.
Well,
And it
might have
looks
to
like
come back.
Trey's play here is going to be fake powder, using that lamp to burn off all of the magic.
Yeah, this is a good time to do it. It's probably going to head north up to that portal, so it's doing a drive-by here anyway. Yeah, might as well get it out of the way, and then you can just go turn in that mushroom a little later and not have to worry about it. So for those of you who don't know, if you drain your magic fully, you have Cane of Samaria, and you have the... Oh my goodness!
Well, hi there!
Whoa! Okay, so... Wow. Wow. So yeah, so that's a trick where you drain your magic and you use Cane of Samaria with an empty magic bar and then quickly switch over to the mushroom. It's pretty unconventional and often doesn't yield anything since it's super out of logic, but holy crap, those boots are really nice for Trey, and who knows when Zen is going to find that.
It's entirely possible that that powder is tucked away in a pendant dungeon somewhere, depending on what desert and the GT torch look like.
Yep. So Zen is going to be in a similar position in just a moment here. Either by going into Village of Outcasts to do dungeons or by routing north like Trey did. So yeah, keep a close eye over on Zen's side to see if he also takes the time to fake powder there.
Zen has just barely enough money to play this digging game, has 9 rupees to spare. Needs this to pay out at least a little bit, or checking the chest game is not going to happen for him in the immediate future.
Yeah. Usually you dig up some red ones here, so I think Zen will maybe take a second to... Nope. No, just stopping at 40. Remember, we do need to pay for Kiki at some point to get into pod as well, so I think Zen just expecting to find money in chests between now and then.
It looks like Zen may be eschewing the magic bat check, unfortunately. Maybe wanting to route that in with some other things in the area, but it now kind of feels like it would have been the time without the mitts.
Right. Yeah. Often you. Yeah. Exactly. Often you you do that along with your smith checks. Gosh, who knows when we'll find those mitts though. So listen, an early boots deficit is not the worst thing in the world, but the more time passes, that time adds up a little bit. And that was the flute in Thieves' Town.
That's a nice one to have. When you've got the boots, you've got the flute, you've got the mirror. The only real mobility item you're missing at that point is the hook shot. You feel pretty good about your ability to get around the map now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just mirror as soon as you're done with this dungeon, activate it. So it's a really great place to find it. So Zen is going to start with Skull Woods, on the other hand.
It's a perfectly acceptable place to start. You've got the fire rod, so you can get into the back. You've got the tempered sword, so the moth really shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I guess with the mirror in hand, I would, and the cape in hand, I'd be inclined to just move east after finishing Skullwood. So personally, I like Trey's route here a little bit better. You can just route clockwise after finishing up Thieves Town here, but yeah, absolutely. Skullwood's full clearable. Could easily be something important in here. Of course, Trey is going to have even more incentive to head east after Skullwoods with not only Graveyard Ledge, but those boots checks now.
Yeah, he's got really a clean sweep of that Northern Dark World loop. Of course, that assumes that between Thieves Town and Skull Woods, they don't pay out in something that makes the runners really want to just go ahead and rush right on over there to the Palace of Darkness area.
Yeah, totally possible. If we find a bow here, you might want to, you would maybe want to prioritize that over a mountain trip with the hopes that you find the mitts or something to make your mountain trip a little more effective. But if we don't find anything, we can clear out all of the Light World mountain already. So pretty clear set of next steps, I think, on both runner sides.
And barring any new information, for sure.
Nice moth fight over on Zen's side. So I'm practicing this beforehand, and maybe wasn't expecting to have that tempered sword. That makes the fight pretty trivial, but yeah, easy breezy. That's Crystal. We're on Zen's side. Nicely done.
Always feels good to put one of those up on the board. 25 minutes in, first blood is zenarcane. Who, I believe, is going to go ahead and give us the pedestal check. I know that this is chat's favorite time of the seed. Let's see if there's any value here at all.
Nope. Just some money.
Just a little additional difficulty buying safeties later if you need them.
Yeah, not too surprised by that. Usually if Turtle Rock is a pendant, it's usually a tell that there's not going to be anything on pedestal. Not always, but made it a little less unlikely here. And yeah, no pedestal today. And Trey's going to tie things up here after finishing off blind on one heart. No problem, easy.
Yeah, no worries there. Still have one whole heart left.
Yeah. He did not have the cape either. Wait, where was Cape? Is that on Sora? Why does Trey not have the cape?
No, Zora Lord was a piece of heart, wasn't it?
Ice Rod Cave. Okay.
Yeah, it was an Ice Rod Cave.
Cool. Well, that's thankfully pretty easy to check now that we have that flute activated. Trey's going to take a second to hop down here and grab, I believe it was Ether, off the library.
May as well get hold of it. Yeah. And zenarcane has found the actual powder. May not be without those boots terribly much longer.
Yeah, that's really big for Zen, because you see that here, you're still pretty close to that check, and it just puts it in your brain that that might be something. So
plus the fact that he hasn't done Thieves Town yet, so he's 100% going to be back in that village area in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you said earlier, that powder easily could have been somewhere real stupid in swamp or something. So that's, I don't think I can overstate how big of a pickup that is here.
Yeah, even in a race like this, where you're close in skill level to your opponent, you always worry, did my opponent find the boots 15 minutes before I did? Yeah, and it never feels good.
Yep.
Even worse on something like the ladder, where you might be playing somebody with a 3500 race time elo and be behind on boots for 23 minutes. Not saying that happened to me recently or anything, but that happened to me recently.
Trey might not even bother picking up that powder, honestly. I would have to really think about it at this point. It's already done the check for it. It would just be a nice safety, but already have a couple bottles in hand. I don't know. Might skip it entirely.
It is one of the better safeties in the game, but like you just said, with 2 bottles already in hand, it's reasonably free at that point to not have to worry about picking up additional ones, especially if something like half magic shows up.
Yep, that's true. Of course, he still needs to find that cape to even worry about it in the first place, so we'll see when that happens.
It would be interesting if him seeing that kind of gave him the hint of where that cape might be, since he knows where the boots are already.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, finding items out of logic can be super helpful in terms of you prioritizing where you do or don't go next. Of course, we don't know if boots are required yet. Could be. Desert is a crystal, and we haven't seen any of those boots checks just yet.
And although we do have the flute in hand, it could still be the book to get in the front door of Desert Palace. Would need another glove otherwise.
Yeah, we know that glove needs to be somewhere. Could be in desert, of course, but could see them putting off the desert play, thinking like, we're gonna find those mitts at some point. We'll just do it the fast way with the flute. Another nice moth fight over on Trey's side. Take a 2 crystal to 1 lead here that Zen will be tying up shortly in Thieves Town.
So, what do you think if you're Trey here? Do you go ahead, you'll check Bumper Ledge, probably make the 1 check on the North Dark World loop that you can, and then flipper on over to the Catfish and play on down into Pod?
Yeah, dude,
Or
it's
do you
3
want to play up
checks.
the mountain instead?
Yeah, it's 3 checks.
Oh yeah, it is. He can mirror
got
for
those
the
boots,
Swamp
right?
Rocks.
Yeah. Now's the
Yep.
best time. Now's the best time to just head east if you're Trey. So I think this play's a no-brainer. We'll see. Yeah, but as to whether or not you go all the way to Catfish is another question. It wouldn't be bad. You could also turn in the mushroom while you're doing that. So we'll see. We'll see if he dips out. Does have a lot to do in the mountain as well, so that could entice him away. Yeah, the bigger question is, like chat's talking about right now, whether or not Zen takes the time to go check Magic Bat. Right now it's just speed. Trey's just able to zip around a little more quickly, but we are about to see some boots checks, and that's where this advantage could really come into play.
Trey's going to go ahead and start showing us those very shortly here. Zenarcane, of course, tucked away in the back of Thieves Town.
So there's that powder that Trey's gonna get eyes on. If I'm Trey, I'm almost like disappointed to see it there. I'd be hoping that it was somewhere really stupid. But
Yeah, why wasn't this in some pendant dungeon that nobody wants to enter? Why isn't it just tucked away in the depths of Left Side Swamp?
yeah. Alright, here's those boots checks, really important. Just a heart under Bonk Rocks. Still have King's Tomb coming up.
And if neither of those pay out, how much do you start thinking about the fact that that Ether Medallion was on the library?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we can't get our eyes on Meyer or Turtle Rock just yet, without the mitts, of course. But yeah, if you're Trey, you're hoping Zen doesn't find those boots, and Ether is required for sure.
Sin, no concerns at all, only down half a heart there, tying that crystal count back up with that clear of Thieves' Town.
Yeah, that was a nice fight. Trey was on his last legs at the end of that blind fight, and Zen made it look easy. And here's King's Tomb. Half magic. So, not required, but super nice. Just another little advantage that Trey's going to have over Zen. Looks like
Definitely one of the nicer safeties in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with that fire rod in hand, and use it to your heart's content. But yeah, it's going to continue on, turning the mushroom here, and probably head over to Catfish. So Trey just generally being pretty thorough, I think, is the story of the early game here. Took the extra time to find those boots or find the bombs and escape, and just generally been more thorough. Led to the boots, taking him all the way up to Catfish here.
And having already done all of those Zora area checks, we have the problem of otherwise, when are you going to check Catfish? We're orphaning it pretty hard if it's not getting checked now.
Yeah, it's true. Zen's gonna get those boots, so that's good news if you're rooting for a close race here. Just gonna find him, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes after Trey did. Not too long. It's not I wouldn't say Trey gained much of an advantage by finding them when he did. Just a little bit.
Yep, just a few seconds here and there. And of course, like any race, those add up eventually.
Yeah. I think it was maybe Koi said while doing comms in a main tournament race, he said he timed it out and it was approximately 1 minute per 10 minutes. That makes sense. So
that sounds about right to my experience, although, it always feels like it's longer than that when you go without them and then you find them in a really easy to check location. You think, sure, I know logically this probably only saves somebody about a minute every 10, but how long has my opponent had these before I got them?
Yeah, for sure. And how often do you win or lose by less than a minute? Happens all the time, right? Trey is doing the thing here. We're going to Swamp.
That's an interesting play on his part. If you think you need to make a gamble, this is a more interesting one to do. A lot of runners will really try to avoid this dungeon.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is tough. You're basically committing to doing left side without hookshot at this point. It's really time consuming. And meanwhile, Zen's just over there in desert, clearing out a dungeon we gotta do. Got a whole mountain that's open to us. This is a pretty big gamble on Trey's part.
Fully clearable red crystal desert. If you happen to find the mitts, your other crystal there is going to be on offer to you. You've got fire, you've got hammer, you've got one glove, just need one more, and cold stare can go down.
Yeah. Alright, well, watch closely, because, I don't know, if Zen routes conventionally, I doubt we see Swamp on Zen's side for a bit. So, important part of the race right here, I would say.
And Zen has found both items here in Desert. I think it was a 20 and a piece of heart. So aside from that crystal that you need to win the game and defeat Ganon. Not really much to show for this trip at the moment.
Nope. There's 20 on the ledge as well. And he did check Agina early, so we don't have that to look at either. So, yep, just a crystal. So yeah, if Trey happens to find the mitts, it's probably going to save just a little bit of time in desert by getting to enter through the back door.
Getting the long, slow, unfortunate slog through setting up left side swamp here. You have no hook shots, you can't set up diver down. None of this is fun.
Yeah. This is why this play is a gamble. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, no worries. I was about to say that, as linked to the past kin mentions in chat, Trey Spyre did see that map early, so we know we're going to see at least one item over here.
Yep.
Not going to get the map compass special.
Nice Landmo fight over on Zen's side. But yeah, just cleared up a required crystal in the time that we're doing this, so... Gosh, this just takes so long. And it's going to take even longer. Of course, it's a big key.
Come on, game. You couldn't have put that in its vanilla location?
Yeah, I know, right?
Zen's going to go ahead and take this Ether Medallion. I'm kind of expecting we'll go ahead and see the trip up the mountain at this point. Getting that in hand before getting in range of Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I mean, it's that or... Yeah, it's... I mean, we have... No one's been to the pod eastern area, I think, just yet, but that feels super bad without a bow, of course, so... Yeah, I think the mountain is the safer play at this point. After clearing out these mirror and boots checks, I think. Alright, here's your actual moment of truth here. It is a compass on Trey's side, so that was a big waste of time. That feels bad. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, if you feel like you're matched up against someone who has like a big execution advantage over you or something, I can understand making plays like this, but you know, they're closely matched. I watched a race yesterday, so I don't know that he needed to make that gamble. Of course, it's easy for me to say that in retrospect after saying nothing, but Trey's gonna feel a little bit behind now.
It looks like he's going to go ahead and carry it right up to desert, so, you know, at least for the perspective of being thorough and trying to, you know, make eject in order. It works in that sense. Unfortunately, the actual play in swamp simply didn't pay out for him.
Right, so Trey and probably open it on the mitts here or something, just to make that mountain shirt more palatable. Or it is just going to find a bunch of junk. Looks like he's also going to preserve his portal, so he's going to be working its way over to Catfish as well.
It does seem like roughly the time to do it. So while our runners are kind of retracing each other's steps here, we're 42 minutes into this thing. This is a good time to remind you, if you like the show these runners are putting on for you, they had a great game 1, having a great game 2. Go ahead and give them a follow. Trey Spyre and zenarcane. My co-com here, of course, is none other than Rshap, doing yeoman's work, keeping me on track. Speaking of that, our trackers, our wonderful trackers, Scottish Brave and Homewrecker. And Siberian there, throwing out all the commands, is the one who did all the technical work behind the scenes to get this restream up and off the ground. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can vouch for every single Twitch URL in the chat right now. Bunch of great follows there. So, couldn't say it better than you just said it. So, Zen
picked up the large rock and took a flying leap on his way to Catfish, and so had to swim back around and come at it again.
Okay, I was trying to figure out what the heck happened. Yeah.
Normally you only see somebody in that little river when they're playing some kind of a cross-world entrances randomizer and they want to swim across. Over in the light world side, but yeah, no, that's what happened. There was an unfortunate leap into the lake there.
Yeah. You know, I was really surprised that the challenge cup this year wasn't cross-world entrance randomizer, but here we are.
Well, that would have kept me out for sure.
Yeah, me too. Hey, it's the mountain, finally. So, Zen gonna be the first one up there, naturally, since he avoided the dreadful swamp play. Trey's gonna go fight Landmo right now.
Yeah, for all that Trey made all of those checks there in Swamp Palace, it could be the mountain right after this. I'm not sure that he has all that much else left. Yeah, it seems
weirdly close given how time-consuming Swamp was. I know he hasn't checked Ice Ride Cave, but that's about it. So we did find the blue cane up on the mountain, which is good for Trey. I mean, he's going to be able to check Spike Cave while he's up on the mountain if he heads up there before going to Ice Ride Cave.
And Trey's going to go ahead and combo that desert play in with Gina.
Yep.
It's a nice way to do it as long as you haven't, left something behind here that you needed in the early game and you get over here and feel really bad about it. But no, that singleton arrow is, you don't worry about it.
That's a butter sword on Ether Tablet.
Sub-hour butter sword, terrible seed confirmed.
Yep.
And Zen doing something that I feel like I never get to do. He's going to walk right by Pendant Hera and not even feel tempted to go in.
Well, I think if I had to guess, I'd say Zen is coming over here, gonna do Spiral, gonna walk back up the east side of the mountain via Paradox, and then walk right back to the left for Hera and Spike Cave. And just be able to save and quit nicely at that point, assuming we don't find the mitts. So I think this route makes a lot of sense, actually. This is a way to do it super thoroughly. And yeah, if you end up finding, something big over on the right side here, you might just be able to skip Hera entirely. Although, we still need a bow, we still need the mitts as well. And we don't know what our medallions are, so...
And regardless of that pendant in Swamp Palace, probably going to want to see the hook shot sooner or later. We saw how much luck zenarcane was having with his Moldorm bounce practice before the seed began.
I don't want to see it. I would love to see it bounce off for 30, 40, 50 minutes. It sounds great.
And Trey's going to go for some big divergence here, going into Sahasrah's closet, was coming at this from the Dark World, so very likely to play into Pod Eastern after this.
It's another gamble on Trey's side. No bow, obviously.
Expressing his displeasure with the Elder Sahasrah and the contents of his closet.
Well, when we're Moldorm bouncing later, and Trey is down 1 bomb, we're gonna know what to look back to.
It doesn't look like Zen has turned up anything over there on Eastern Light Mountain, so Pendatera becoming a play after all.
Yeah, I mean, that's good news for Trey, right? Makes it more likely that... there's those mitts. Makes it more likely that Trey's going to pull the bow out here somewhere. Yeah, mitts in Hera, which is going to open up more mountain stuff for Zen to do, and we're probably going to get eyes on that TR medallion, although it is a pendant.
Zen gonna think for a hot second there about whether or not he wants to go get the big key and continue that dungeon, and says, nope, you know what, the mitts are enough.
So if TR is Ether, do you do it?
In this circumstance, 100% yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll check Super Bunny and the bonkable chest in Hookshot Cave first, but, you know, if I don't have go mode at that point, yes, I'm 100% going into TR here if it's Ether.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Bo could easily be somewhere here in Pod, or I guess we're in Eastern now on Trey's side. And Myers now open, potentially, depending on that medallion as well. So we also have mitts checks for the Smith chain.
Oh, Zen wanted to bonk there and instead lifted the bot.
Just hover, it's easy. Everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it.
Otherwise, I don't count under the definition of everyone anymore, I see.
Nope. Alright, just a heart. Rest is out of logic until we find that hookshot, so... Zen is not going to be hovering Hookshot Cave today.
And in the amusement of the moment, we did miss the fact that the TR entry medallion requirement was the Vanilla Quake. Which is right there under the doormat in Super Bunny Cave.
Oh man. You're almost glad that you don't have the medallion to get in, so you don't have to make that decision, and then next thing you know... I mean, he's thinking about it.
Yeah, he's really not happy with that at all, you can tell.
Yeah, he's... gosh. Just gonna jump down to Spike Cave, right?
That is what it looks like, and Trey has found all 3 items there in Eastern Palace. I believe it was 2 big 20s and something else that didn't do him any good.
See, all these... Listen, I appreciate the gusto on these gambles over on Trey's side, but unfortunately, yeah, not really paying off. Start in Spike Cave.
It'll be interesting to see when he gets over to Turtle Rock after he's found the mitts, if he wants to go ahead and triple down on it and make that play into TR.
I mean, if you're doing it, you were doing it while you're up there. Otherwise, you gotta climb the whole dang mountain again. I think it's a smart on Zen's side. Just gonna go get that info on Meyer immediately.
Seems fairly likely. I'm even expecting Ether.
I didn't even catch it.
No, good runners can catch that. I can't.
I was looking for it, and I didn't catch it. Brave in the chat saying it was Ether, which would make sense because Zen is walking to it. Yeah, it was Ether, so gonna see Meyer clear. Just another crystal dungeon we gotta do. So Trey's gotta find a way to make up time somewhere. Could happen with that TR dip, potentially.
Yeah, the bow and the hookshot still outstanding. One of those could just be tucked away in there. And if the other bow is in Ganon's tower, well, gonna be required.
Yep. Well, we don't need the hookshot because we're hovering, but yeah, totally.
No, Moldorm bouncing's the new hotness. Hovering's old and busted.
True. Trey is going to go see his small key here, and he's doing it.
It's been really interesting to watch. It is 100% the thoroughness play from Trey Spyre, and has been all seed long. Pretty much the only skip he's made is Ice Rod Cave.
Right, which is really funny since we've had the flute forever now. Well, I feel like I keep saying moment of truth over on Trey's side over and over. Here's another one, I guess. Although we know this will be the big key, of course, but whatever ends up being upstairs in Hera is going to be pretty important. Of course, we know Ped is dead. There's no Hera potting today, so this is even more of a time commitment here on Trey's side, as Zen just works his way through a dungeon we gotta do.
Yeah, Zen has seemed perfectly content for quite some time now to just go to the crystal dungeons he can full clear them, and until he runs out of that, just keeps doing it. Then he reverts back to making those overworld checks until he gets his next piece of progression.
Exactly.
Although, as I stop and think about it, I don't think that any of these crystal dungeons have held a progression item yet, have they?
Well, let's think about it. We had the flute in Thieves Town.
Alright, yeah.
That might be it, though, yeah.
It was definitely 2 junk items in Desert, and I don't think there was anything in Skullwoods.
Yeah. This is so annoying over on Trey's side. Like, we know Ped is dead. We know there's no reason to kill Moldorm. Just give us the second item in the first check. Nope. It's making us do this. Classic. Classic 10 arrows.
That's the seed saying, you wanted to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I think at this... I mean, listen, it's still early. But I think at this point, Trey's best bet is going to be, like, just everything in T-Rock. And him making that play right now.
Yeah, zenarcane has found both items here in Mire. It was a 20 and a full heart container. It has taken a sizable heart container advantage over Trey here. I think a decent chunk of those were over here on the eastern mountain, however.
Yeah. Whereas Zen is the one with that powder, so... You'd want it to be the other way around, but here we are.
And Zen showing off a little spooky action, something Ancilla. You let the duck fly off the screen at your flute to 6 at the proper height and go ahead and get into your Dark World portal, and then you refrain from doing a few things while you're clearing out Mire, so that when you get here, your Fire Rod splash damage is offset by the amount of height you need to flick switches that are off the top of the screen.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, nicely done.
bit of hacking and slashing there in phase 1 with that butter sword with no arrows, with no bow. Plenty of arrows, but no bow to fire them with. Going to have to resort to that butter sword some more for phase 2.
Yeah, no problem. If we were on Fighter Sword or Master Sword, I'd be a little more worried, but it's okay.
And
Right,
that's
so-
Zen raising his crystal collection count up to 4, taking the lead again.
Yeah, nicely done. Yeah, we at this point, yeah, Ice Palace, I guess, looms for Zen. It's going to be the other 5/6 crystal, and we can clear it. Might get a little bit of information if you pay close attention about where the hookshot could be. But that's what I would expect to see next. Yeah, called it.
Just continuing his chain of, I have everything I need to clear out this crystal dungeon, let me go do it. You know, there may be a logical hookshot requirement in here, but with that red cane of Samaria, it cracks this dungeon right in half.
Luckily, we have Mike in the chat, who is much smarter than me when it comes to this game and its logic. So just gonna let him tell us whether or not the hookshot's actually available or not.
I believe it has to do with the placement of small keys, but if you wanted me to actually give you a detailed explanation of it, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, if you find a small key here, that's one of the tells. The freezer room as well. Gotta pay attention to the big key too, though. It's a whole thing.
And here's Trey, found that quake under the doormat and is going to go ahead and make the play right on in to Turtle Rock.
Yep, pretty characteristic of how Trey's been riding the seat otherwise. Yeah, at this point, it's like you could either be thinking like, man, all of my gambles so far have not paid off, so I need to make another one, or this is just how we opted to route the seed before we started. I don't know, but into TR we go. We know that this is probably his best bet. Is just a bunch of progression being in here. Trey remembering to do this the slow way without the hookshot.
But that is the hookshot on zenarcane's side, so we're down to bow.
Yep, more bad news for Trey, unfortunately. Yeah, I did completely miss that. Yeah, I think finding the hookshot in a really dumb spot that would have maybe inspired Zen to try to Moldorm bounce could have been good for Trey. Yeah, unfortunately, it was just in required Crystal Ice Palace.
While Trey has completed the coin collection there, Bombos was over there on the fire rod blocked side of the front of TR and is going to continue on diving.
Yeah, we know we don't need that. So, not going to do Trey much good, unfortunately. Of course, in his mind, he hasn't seen Meyer yet, so he's like, ooh.
Yeah, from Trey's perspective, it's, I don't have to worry about this anymore. This is great.
Nice cold stare over on Zen's side. Of course, Butter Sword makes it pretty easy if you can manage to get him into a corner.
Throwing another crystal onto the pile there. That is now 5 for zenarcane at 1 hour and 2 minutes.
Right, so this is where this could get a little annoying, depending on where the bow is. We know it's not in the front of Pod or Eastern. I want to say Trey didn't, I want to say Pod was bow locked. I don't remember. I feel like Trey was in there very briefly.
He was in and out so quickly that it almost had to be.
Yeah, of course, a second bow could absolutely be in the back of Pod. But Zen gonna do the smart thing and go check Pyramid Ferry at this point.
Makes sense, you can carry the play right over to Pod if that's the way you want to do it. He seems to have been so laser focused on those crystal dungeons that I can't imagine that he's not going to go ahead and at least hop in and hope that the game will just give him what he needs there.
Right. Yeah, at this point, could be in TR still or here in Mimic Cave. We haven't seen Smith Chain yet, but we're sort of running out of checks.
Zen getting some nice dashes with that big bomb.
Yeah. Back of Swamp is in Logic now too, by the way.
That would be a pretty cruel way for the game to have placed that bow, especially after Trey made the dive into the front of it.
Yep. This was pretty convenient though, I would say. So we got bow in Pyramid, Ferry, and gosh, that's go mode.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is go mode at 1 hour and 4 minutes for zenarcane. All he has to do is go mash a couple of bow dungeons, get up on the mountain, and go see if you can't win the game.
Yep. So the play this seed was just play super conventionally. It'll work out. Yeah, Zen didn't make any real gambles. Found those mitts in Hera and left immediately. Didn't get baited by Swamp. Didn't get baited by T-Rock. So yeah, it's just gonna work out pretty clean for Zen.
Yeah, it always feels a little bad to lose a seed like this where just trust the seed. The seed will give you what you need. There weren't really any outstanding trolls at all. First check, mitts and pendant Hera was really kind of the worst of it.
Yeah, and that's a check that, you know, as long as you're up on the mountain, you're doing that 1,000,000% of the time. It's not pendant Swamp for sure. So, but you know, Trey came in today with a plan, and that plan was to take some swings and hope to gain an advantage by making some checks that are out of the way. It works out a lot of the time, but it didn't. So it's going to be disappointing, but you know, that's a completely legitimate way to rat this game.
Yep, found a small key, a compass, a bottle with a fairy in it, and not a whole lot else there on Lace Bridge.
Yeah. Still avoiding Ice Rod Cave, but yeah, Trey's gonna head over to Ice, grab his hook shot.
It is kind of funny that not doing Ice Rod Cave has been Trey's one gamble, and it actually has, if not a progression item in it, at least a nice safety.
No. Yeah.
I mean, technically it is a progression item in this seed, because the actual powder was up on the bumper cave ledge.
Yep.
Which led to the boots.
Were we boots locked in desert?
Were we boots locked in desert? You know, as I got in the middle of saying that, I stopped and thought, were we actually boots locked in desert?
Yeah. You're telling us we weren't. Yeah, it's one of those.
Well, that's fine. GT can still bail me out, right? Come on, GT, you got my back here, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things you spend so much time stressing about. when you don't have boots and it's like getting close to a time to head over to desert, you're like, gosh, is this gonna be boots locked? And then the second you find those boots, you just completely forget that that's even a concern in desert. Alright, so there's a hook shot over on Trey's side. Obviously, happy to have it. Probably disappointed it wasn't somewhere dumber in the seed, but happy to have it.
Really wanted to see that on Laser Bridge instead for Trey.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see that Molder bounce that Zen was practicing before we started.
What good is practice if the game never lets you actually put it into play?
It's true.
So that's paid to the Helmasaur King on Zen side crystal number 6 at 1 hour and 8 minutes. One dungeon to go.
Yep, pretty easily accessible dungeon too. Just gonna mirror here, hop into Eastern. Cleared out super quick. The big key was up front also, so it's gonna be even faster. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to Trey about some of these choices. Like the swamp choice didn't pay out, obviously. I'm curious if... I'm going to be curious just to hear if he felt like obligated to make more gambles after it didn't pay off, since he was feeling behind, or if he just went into the race like planning on clown riding. I know sometimes when you take a big swing like that swamp play, you just feel super behind. You feel like you need to make it up elsewhere, either by cutting corners or by riding unconventionally. So that's been the story of the seed so far, I think, is that conversation.
Yeah, you get to the point where this play didn't pay out, now I need something else to pay out because I've already thrown all this time away. It's, you know, kind of that logical fallacy of sunk cost.
Yep. Puff's getting a little away, little away from Trey, but no big deal.
It's kind of difficult for that fight to become a big deal when you've got 11 hearts blue mail and the butter sword.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. That's why I don't really mind practicing with hard standard or something. It just forces you into situations where you have to not face tank cold stare.
To be a little more consistent with your fight, I agree.
Yeah.
So there we are at 1 hour and 11 minutes, zenarcane with all 7 crystals in hand. It is in fact that time at last to climb the mountain one more time. Going to be heading up to Ganon's Tower. There are 22 possible locations in the basement of Ganon's Tower where the big key can be hidden from zenarcane today. He's going to have to find that key before he can climb the tower to have one final argument with Aga, and then face off against the big pig. So go ahead and get your bets into chat. Go ahead and make your guesses. We will see what we will see here in just a minute once he finishes this climb.
I've only seen one very rude 22. Everyone else is being very kind.
I tend to expect it to show up somewhere in the, 8 to 13 range.
Sure. Is that your guess? 8 to 13?
It's more of a general expectation, but yeah. For the way this seed's been, everything's kind of been on the way. I think more like maybe 4 in compass room.
Yeah. Yeah, the seed headed to 1 curveball with those boots, I guess. Everything else has been pretty chill, so... Yeah, by that logic, I agree. It's gonna be, I don't know, in rando room or something. So Trey needs to work his way to cutscene chest, everyone's favorite chest. Find that big key. But in we go. Over on Zen's side. Gonna start with the right in Hope Room here. I hope it's here. No, that's silvers though.
Not there, but yeah, those silvers are a nice consolation prize. Is keeping my guess alive anyway.
So he's gonna go right to compass room here. Probably mirror at that point. Yeah, this Ganon fight's gonna be over in about the shortest amount of time possible, I think, with this equipment set.
Well, so much for my guess of 4. It's going to be a left side play today.
It's important to get them wrong on purpose sometimes, so people don't suspect too much, you know? Well, there it is. It's on torch. It was boots locked. So there's your there's your logical boot requirement.
Yep, GT bailing me out. Thanks, GT. Got my
you
back.
Called it. You called it. Very smart. Very smart. Very thankfully had a fairy after getting bullied by some Wizrobes.
Wizrobes are surprisingly good at that.
I mean, this isn't Zelda 1, but it can happen for sure. You have a preferred GT big key route medium that you like to take?
I tend to do exactly what zenarcane did here. I'll go into Hope Room. If I find at least a small key there, I'll go ahead and check Compass Room before going left. Otherwise, you know, mirror out and go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that one and going to the left to the Stalfos Room and then mirroring and going right are probably the two more conventional routes. Of course,
earlier in the group stages, I did experiment a little bit with the left to rando room and mirror and full right. It's alright. I can see why some people might be proponents of it, but I wasn't particularly a fan.
Yeah. The one time I've done it in a race, Big Key was in the Hope Room, so it's just like never again. That's why I always go directly to Tile Room now.
Make that bright and early Tile Room gamble.
Yep. Actually, not sure we're going to see Trey make it to GT before this race is over. Otherwise, I'd put money on that play, given how he's been routing so far today.
Well, he does at least have that big key of Eastern already in hand, so he doesn't have to make checks there, but, you know, still going to have to dig the one out of Palace of Darkness. Or was that very first chest there? By the time I looked at Zen, he was already going down the bow-locked side.
Yeah. Gravesend knows the right side of pods, so that's convenient. And Zen just flying through GT here. Really nicely done.
Having fun with torch puzzles, already had one small key and, you know, had stepped over to grab that second one out of the hammer peg room after picking up the big key off the torch, so it doesn't even have to stop for those mini Helmosaurs.
Right. Yeah, with half magic, was able to use that fire rod a bit. Alright, no bounces today, unfortunately. We are about to hookshot across this gap.
And has no time at all for the ultimate chest of the game. Zen thinks he's got a race to win.
It literally couldn't be anything. We have all the swords, we have the bow. We know where red mail was. Have half magic.
But how are you going to kill Aghanim 2 without the swag net?
That's a great point, thank you.
No, apparently with butter is Zen's answer to that.
Yep, getting a couple 7-10 splits here, unfortunately, on this fight.
Not the kindest Aga 2 patterns in the world, but you can pull a couple out of most of them.
Yeah, I think Zen can afford to have a nice, comfy, lengthy Aga 2 fight here, if he so chooses. Down goes Aga.
Meanwhile, Trey is back over at the Village of Outcasts area. Looks like maybe a smith sequence.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Still looking for that bow. Fortunately, we know it was Pyramid Fairy.
Unfortunately, again, it was one of those cases of Zen decided he was just going to trust the seed, and the seed kept throwing all the progression items right in his path.
Yep. Well, hey, maybe we'll find that bug net. Yeah, this is a really nice Ganon fight. Managed to get in that fire bat circle and get that 2-cycle there. Really nicely done on Zen's side. Let me tell you, in these races where you get to Ganon, your opponent hasn't finished yet, you're looking at the race room, you know, you can be on edge a little bit. So, to have such an effective early Ganon phase 1 and 2 there was pretty nice. Didn't get the torch glitch, but you know what? When you have silvers, it's like not even a problem. It's kind of preferable, actually.
Yeah, in a lot of cases it can make it easier to set up a double or a triple. Man, you know, in that case it worked out really well for him. There's 4 silver sticks right into the pig explodes. Zenarcane going to stand there, Kefka all caped up with the sword held high in the air while that fanfare plays. He'll wait for this bridge to appear so he can cross it.
That was one of the faster Ganon fights you'll see.
Get your GGs in chat for Zenarcane, who has finished first overall with a race time GG time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 58.
Yeah, GG's to Zen. Really nicely done overall. Just routed that exactly like you were supposed to.
Well, thank you very much.
And we are joined by both Trey, Spyre, and Zenarcane. Good game to both of you.
Yeah, GG, yeah. Trey.
GG's. That happened.
Yeah, so Zen, our winner today. You want to start us off? Any high level thoughts on the seed today?
Those boots, they just did everything for you on the seed. I think like getting them, like going right for them after Thieves Town, just set up pretty much everything else. I think.
So Trey actually fake powdered and found him a little bit before you did. So early on, we thought that was going to be a huge advantage for Trey if that powder ended up being somewhere stupid. But yeah, of course, it was just directly north of town on Bumper Ledge there.
I mean, in my opinion, it kind of was somewhere stupid because I still don't know where the cave is.
Ice Rod Cave, buddy.
Oh, of course it was. Of course it was.
The one skip you made. Fair game. Yep.
Yeah, and I just totally, honestly, I forgot about Ice Rod Cave. I have a very bad habit of finding progression and then just chasing it instead of, you know, doing Sphere 1 checks, because who does those? It's not like I left a bow there yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really. I mean, it didn't hurt you too much. Obviously, you were
Yeah.
able to powder and get those boots, and you had a couple bottles in hand, so you were able to make it through relatively safe and sound. But yeah, that's where it was.
Here,
So-
I was definitely thinking I was going to go back once I got the flute, and then I got the flute and just didn't care because there was so many other things to do.
Yeah. So I think the story of the seed in a lot of ways was Trey. You took some gamble. Certainly, you went into swamp. You full cleared Hera. Zen didn't. Zen, I noticed you almost went into T-Rock. What were you thinking when you found that Quake medallion?
Yeah, I paused. I was like, "Do I go in now?" And then I looked and I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. I just got my mitts. I have a mirror. I can get back into desert. I can get in Ice Palace. Those are far more important than dipping Turtle Rock. I'll come back if I need to do it later." I was tempted. I'm super tempted.
Yeah, we could tell.
The number of times I've had progression in TR, just in pendant TR of all things, it haunts me a little bit.
Yeah.
This was even like a little reminiscent of like one of the qualifier seeds for main, because I got that Bombo super early, and then in my head I'm like, oh no, literally one of the qualifiers was Bombos in TR required for Meyer, and then there was other stuff deeper in TR, so I in my mind I'm like, I have to keep going.
Yeah. Did you feel like you made the swamp play pretty early, and then you went to TR as well. You full cleared Hera. Like, did you feel like you needed to make those choices later to make up time on swamp not bailing you out, or just what was your thinking around like some of these checks?
A little bit. So a lot of people are of the opinion that Pendant Pod always has progression. I disagree. It's always Pendant Swamp for me. So me seeing Pendant Swamp, I may as well just go in. Why not? And I figured I would just route that in with Bombo's tablet and go into desert like I did. And of course, not getting anything there, and then getting Quake in Hook and Super Bunny. Yeah, TR is there. Why not? Let's go. We've already done more stupid things. Let's continue to do more stupid things.
Yeah. Yeah. It was unfortunately, yes. Pendant Swamp is so tough because you just have to commit to doing all of left side without the hook shot. Of course, you found the big key over there as well.
Which of course led to a compass of all things.
Yeah. So Zen on the other hand just followed Crystal Dungeons and just routed pretty conventionally, and it worked out beautifully, I think. Were either of you worried about a hover seed?
Until I found the hook shot, absolutely.
Like I can hover.
Yeah, we saw you practicing a little bit beforehand, Zen.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I've been slowly working on learning Moldorm bounce. I've managed a whole 5 of them total so far. So
that is 5 more than me.
Do you think you would have gone for it, Zen? Like if you finished Pod and Eastern were ready to go, do you think you would have committed to it, or would you have spent the time looking for the hook shot a little bit more?
I honestly don't know. I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah. There's always a first race where you have to do it. And it's so stressful. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think failing it 600 times on Restream is probably the best. It would have been entertaining, but not the best.
Oh, you must have watched my first race where I had to attempt it and I failed it 600 times. Cool. Well, so Zen is going to be moving on. Congratulations to the round of, is it 16 up next?
Yeah, I believe it's 16. Yeah, I told you not to be afraid of me. I don't know what you were afraid of.
Because you're a great racer.
I'm not scary. I don't know what you're talking. I'm just gonna point to everything that happened today. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm still sure.
I guess. I mean, I every time I make a decision, it's always, this is a dumb decision. Don't do what I do. So I guess, like, I know what to do. I just choose to. I'm definitely a do as I say, not as I do kind of racer. Because sometimes it pays off. 80% of the time, it doesn't.
Well, just more time for you to join me on comms again, Trey.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Zen, you're going to be taking on the winner of Yukikaze and Slowpoke. And yeah, round of 16. I know with main tournament races slowing down a little bit, I know in the Challenge Cup we're hoping to get more restreams going now that we're also approaching the end here, so keep your eyes peeled. Really quick, I know we have Koval White and Mystic Gaming coming up later today at 8 on one of the ZSR channels, as well as that Slowpoke Yukikaze match 2 between them, also today. So tune in if you want to see who might be taking on zenarcane. And that's going to be at 10:30 p.m. Tonight. Again, one of the ZSR channels. Just follow all of them. There's 4 of them.
Tomorrow. Don't wait, there's more. We have Structural Mike and, wouldn't you know it, RShap at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on one of the ZSR channels. Guess who's going to be on comms for that one?
Is it you?
It is.
Yeah, but
they did.
Yeah, but that's tomorrow. No one's gonna be able to remember that. That's tomorrow. So yeah, tune in if you want. All right. Any closing thoughts? Trey, Zen, Miendian, anybody?
Well, I mean, for me, this was my first tournament, so it's kind of it's a nice experience. I've only been doing this nonsense for a year, so I'm sad, but I'm also kind of excited because I know there's more to come in the future.
Yeah, round of 32 in this tournament ain't nothing for sure. Yeah, the competition's been pretty high level from the races that I've been catching, both on Restream and by just snooping on people's streams. So yeah, round of 32 is you should feel pretty good.
Yeah, Zen, I expect you to win now. The whole thing.
That's the second time I've been told that. I'm like, oh no.
Well, that means you have to do it now, obviously.
Oh, we'll be watching that happen as it happens. Yeah, thanks for running for us. Appreciate it. I know Restream can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes, so thanks for all the entertainment. Be sure to give Trey and Zen a follow. I also want to thank Homewrecker and Scottish Brave for tracking. That was pretty nice of them to do that. I couldn't have done this without them, so thanks to them. And Miendium, thanks for talking into a microphone with me.
Yeah, RShap, it has been a pleasure. I will second you. Thank you to both of our runners, Trey and zenarcane, for putting on a wonderful show today. Unfortunately, Trey's tournament as far as playing ends here, but, come join us in the commentary booth sometime. It's another way to enjoy it. zenarcane, best of luck against your next opponent. Our trackers, of course, were keeping us on track all the afternoon long here. Scottish Brave and Homewrecker. And Siberian, the wonderful restreamer who actually does all the technical work so that this thing happens at all. And you, everybody in chat who wanted to come out and see this, that we put these things on in the hope that people will actually come out and enjoy them, so thank you for giving us an hour and a half of your time today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody.
And before we are leaving and raiding over to ZSR 3, where we have a Wind Waker Randomizer tournament match going on right now, I can only tell you, check our schedule for more Zelda content, because the next 2 days are pretty much already covered by our commentators. We have on Friday another Wind Waker Randomizer match scheduled at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then I think we already picked some of the Challenge Cup matches for the weekend. So make sure
Nice,
to check
can't wait.
our schedule. And yeah, I think that's everything for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time on ZSR. Any final words from you? Well,
Nah, so everyone, thanks for turning the knobs and running the race stream. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks all for watching. We'll see you next time.